Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well today. My name is Fernando Diaz Jr., and I'm happy to have you here, Podcast Post de Vida. I'm your host, and it is truly a blessing to have you joining us today. Whether you are watching live or watching the replay, if this is your first time with us or with me, thank you for being here. I encourage you to subscribe, share the episode, and invite someone else to join the conversation. Our mission at Voz de Vida is simple: to encourage people to grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ and to discover how faith transforms every area of our lives. Today's conversation is one that I'm very connected, excited about because it's very personal. My guest today is Zackary Campbell, and our story goes back several years. I had the privilege in observing as Zackary's program mentor at Western Governors University and the Bachelor's of Cyber Security and Information Assurance program. And one of the greatest blessings of being a mentor, at least for me, is watching my students grow not only academically, but personally and professionally. As mentors, we hope that our students succeed, but every now and then you meet someone who continues to inspire you during their adventure at WEU or their career. And Zackary is one of those people. He's about to graduate, and I had the opportunity to watch him continue to develop into a standing cybersecurity professional. But what has impressed me even more is seeing him or his commitment to living out his Christian faith while pursuing excellence in his career. So tonight we're going to talk about much more than just cybersecurity. We are going to discuss education, professional growth, leadership, the challenges that come with building a career. But above all, we are going to talk about how God remains faithful, how He prepares us for opportunities we never imagined, and how our faith continues to open doors that only He can open. Amen. So I truly believe that this conversation is going to encourage students, young professionals, experienced leaders, and everyone who is wondering what it looks like to honor God in the workplace. So, without further ado, please help me welcome my friend Zackary Campbell to the program. And Zach, welcome to Podcast Voz de Vida. I'm happy to have you here. It's such an honor to have you here today. And before we dive into your professional journey, I would like you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Who is Zackary Campbell? Tell us about your family, and what about some hobbies or interests that people may not know about you. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Fernando, and I appreciate the introduction and glad to be here. My name is Zackary Campbell. I actually met Fernando several years ago, as he had said. And what's funny about who I am is I am a person who never thought I actually would be in the role that I am in today. And here is why. So, when I was a young man in high school, getting ready to graduate, I actually originally wanted to go into law enforcement as a professional career. Like that was what I wanted to do. And that kind of goes into where, on my family side, my family is law enforcement. I grew up with a father in law enforcement. He worked nights. So growing up as a kid, did not really see him a whole lot because he was working nights and it ensured that we had a roof over our head and we had food and we were able to go to school. And the one thing that my father always stressed to us is you need to go to school, you know, learn what you need to do, get through it. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, but you do not ever want to go down in life. You always want to improve. And when he would say that, he always did stress about, church, God, faith, and family. Your family will always be there. God will always be there. And that was the big thing as a young man in elementary, middle school that stressed on me because long story short, when I was in middle school, it was rough for me. Everybody has it rough in middle school, as you undoubtedly will experience, as we've all experienced. But I actually really wanted to drop out after seventh grade, and the whole reason why I wanted to was my parents moved us. I had to drop everything. I lost all my friends, had to make all new friends, and that was a hard thing to do. But funny enough, what really and that's really what drew me closer to God was that move of having to drop everything that I knew and that I was comfortable with. And so, going forward, things only got better. And I attribute a lot of that to both my mother and my father. Now, my family growing up was very interesting because my mother is Southern Baptist. My father grew up Catholic. How they met, how, they ended up marrying, that's a whole other thing. And so there was a whole little thing about, well, what church are the kids gonna go to? And so we actually ended up going back and forth between a Southern Baptist and Catholic church for a few years. And then when I got into high school, my parents let me decide, which church denomination that I really wanted to fall into. And I ended up choosing Southern Baptist because that's where all my high school friends were. That's besides the point, though. Uh, everything that I attribute is to God at the end of the day. Um, I was not close to Him at all. Like, yeah, I went to church. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I went to Sunday school. Yeah, I went to Wednesday night. But I was a kid in high school. I mean, it just did not interest me. It was not until I got a little older, right out of high school, that it really started to click. And so when it really started to click, that's when a lot of my family started growing closer as well. So I have a lot of that to attribute to. And, it kind of goes back into some of the hobbies. So one of the hobbies that I have, and maybe Fernando, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. I enjoy fishing. I don't like doing it all the time, but it is one of those things. It gets me disconnected from modern life. It gets me to disconnect from my phone because I mean, I go fishing in parts of southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas, where cell service is very limited, and so you absolutely disconnect, and it's great in those two parts of the country. Northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, beautiful parts of the country. Um, so that's, some of the hobbies. And then I actually am a drone flyer. I have a drone recreational license. Prior to that, I used to do professional drone photography, and most of my drone photography would be for weddings and for local city governments that were doing building expansions. And so
Wow, I didn't know that about you. That's pretty cool.
yeah, and so, during the COVID years, that was a big thing that I did, especially on the weekends. I had small local, small city governments that would reach out to me and uh, ask, "Hey, can you do these weekly photos of our building expansions?" And then I started having some of the home builders up here that started reaching out as well. And then I had individual people reach out, and uh, it was a great hobby. Absolutely enjoy it. Still enjoy flying drones recreationally to this day. Don't do it as often because you know other hobbies have taken over. One of the hobbies is running, and shockingly enough, that was I did not think I would enjoy it, but I actually really enjoyed running. Um, I don't do it, for marathons. I don't do it for speed. I just go for endurance. So, hey, if I can run 5 miles in an hour and a half or 2 hours, I am happy. I'm not in it for the, oh, I can do it in under 10 minutes per mile thing.
It's all about consistency, and I think that that's a part of consistency that we need in life as well, right? It's not how fast you do it, but it's the perseverance and the focus that you keep in your mind and yourself, right? Believing in yourself that you can do it. Because man, if you ask me to run 5 miles, I don't know, maybe I'm there with you, right? It's gonna take me a couple hours to get it done.
Yep.
I was trying to do some exercise today after dealing with some family emergency last night, and yeah, it was like tracking my miles in the treadmill at the gym. Was like, oh man, yeah, I'm doing better, but I would like to be. My goal is maybe now. Remember, I'm an older guy, right? You're younger than me, but I'm almost getting close to 50. I'm 48 right now, and I can do it comfortably in 15 minutes, but I would like to be down to 10, right? So that's my sweet spot. But I'm comfortable with the timing that I have right now because it's more about consistency to your point and know how fast you do it.
Yep. And Funny enough, what you just said, that's exactly how I started. I mean, I was 18, 20 minutes a mile, and it took me a good year and a half to get down to around the 10 to 12-minute mark. And it's just perseverance, persistence, and even on days that you just don't feel like it, just get up and go do it. You'll feel better.
Yeah. Well, Zach, thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to go back to where our paths first crossed, right? Which now we are good friends. Even after I left WU last year, I think I've been in July for the past 3 years, something like that, if I'm not mistaken, at WU. When we first, you joined WU, I was there a program mentor for the cybersecurity and information assurance program. And all I have to do about you is good things, nothing but good things. And something that I admire from you is the capacity that you had for allow yourself to be mentor and to listen to a guy that you didn't know. In this case, myself, and you put your trust and your commitment to the program. I mean, you pay the price, right? Like I was just coaching you, like. I always tell, I used to say to my students, right? I'm just a cheerleader behind you, right? And you're doing all the work. I'm not. I'm just here, just telling you that you can do it, right? And I always share the Rocky story, right? When he fought Ivan Drago, and if you remember that, but it's like if I can do it, you can do it. And I give you my story, my background, and how I broke into cyber and all that good stuff. And I want to use this time right now to kind of like motivate people because I feel that with the race of AI, with the race of the social media, everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Everybody wants to have a podcast, right? Including myself. Yay! So everybody wants to be like influencer, right? But we are losing the touch of the importance sometimes in education. We are losing the touch on faith, right? And we just want to like we want to live by the likes and what people tell us online, and it's not, sometimes that to me doesn't add value. The real value is what am I doing to build myself, my inner self, to make myself better and to improve my way of living, right? Because I always think that if you don't have a plan, you're gonna get lost, right? But at least if you have a plan, plus God by your side and walking with you along the way, that's gonna make the whole difference, so the entire difference along the journey, right? So if I start with the first question tonight, what made you decide to pursue a degree in cybersecurity?
I am glad you asked that. So it's a complex narrative that pushed me to ultimately make the decision to pursue a degree in cybersecurity. So, in the beginning, I said whenever I was introducing myself originally, I wanted to go pursue a career with law enforcement. Well, my dad, my uncle, my cousins, they all talked me out of it and they said, "You do not want to do this right now. Like, this is not the time to do it. Your personality is not going to work because." As you know me, Fernando, I am very easygoing, very easy to get along with. And they just did not think that that would be a good fit. I actually tried a Citizens Police Academy here where I'm at. I could do it. It's just whenever it came to, the conflicts of it, my easygoing personality would not immediately amp up, and that, is not always the right response to a situation. Well, so long story short, I actually had about 6.5 years of trials to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew at that point, okay, I definitely am going to pivot into the information technology world. I just don't know what I want to go pursue in there. I started out in, the help desk, and within 2.5, 3 years, I was doing network administration and then system administration. And at about the 5.5 year mark, I really started burning out. I was getting very dulled by this because it's the same thing every day. Oh, I'm dealing with this. Oh, I'm dealing with that. And I just got tired. And it dawned on me, I'm not happy. And, when you're not happy, it can impact your work. And it was impacting my work because I would find that I'm just not content. I don't enjoy what I do. I mean, sure, it's great. I appreciate having the job. I appreciate the opportunities, but it just was not enough for me. So I spent a year and a half just praying about it, whatever. was going to happen was going to happen, the path God led me down. And one of the things I saw one day about 6 months down that pathway was a advertisement actually for cybersecurity. And it was one of those, boot camp cybersecurity things. It was nothing related to Western Governors University or any other,
Hmm.
college university. I brushed it off. I'm like, it's just an advertisement. It's nothing. And so another 6 months go by. I'm still trying to find what do I want to do. And eventually, I just one day feel called to go pursue cybersecurity because it's a brand new venture. This is new challenges. It builds on skill set that I already have. Uh, so now the question becomes, where am I going to school at? Because
That's important. That's an
yeah,
important question. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because the one thing that I knew based on my high school experience, I did not enjoy school. I enjoyed, the social aspect. I enjoyed, the unique learning of brand new topics, but I was not a here's the study material, here's the test, review and take the test. I was a hey, tell me what you want me to know and then tell me go figure it out. And so I spent the early half of the year before I met you in 2022 of man, where do I want to go researching? Because I did not want to spend a bunch of money and end up with a large amount of student loan debt, especially if it was something that I decided later I don't want to do this. Uh, and so, funny enough, in about April of that year, I see an advertisement for WGU. I'm talking to one of my near and dear friends who I've known since I moved from my middle school days. And he was telling me about, well, you should consider Western Governors University. Well, what do you mean, Josh? I've never heard of this. It's an online, accredited university. You've got to look at it. It's very affordable. Go at your own pace. I looked at it. I applied that same day. And so that's what started me down the journey to WGU. And that's where I've ended up today. And then that's how I got the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, and before we continue, like I have a lot of questions for you, but I would like to show our people, our audience right now, how easy it is to go to their website. And by the way, I want everybody to know I'm not being sponsored by WGU. I used to be a program mentor there. I got my master's degree in cybersecurity from Western Governors University, and I'm glad I did because that changed the ball game for me, and then the rest is history. As I shared with you before, I have been in IT and cyber now for close to 17 years. And in my experience, like I fall in love with cybersecurity by accident. It wasn't something that I planned. And to your point, Zach, like when I started doing IT work, my first role was service desk. So I was taking calls, I was resetting passwords, I was troubleshooting desktops, laptops, and I was blessed though because the first company that I started to work for, they had kind of like we wear multiple hats all the time, so I was able to learn a lot fairly quickly for my experience there because I was working with network administrators. I was setting up different offices, regional offices. I was setting up VPN concentrators. I was doing like all this kind of stuff. Setting up offices. So it was exciting to me. Be exposed to that, maintain the VMware environment. And then yeah, but then you get bored of just I have to reset a password. And what got me into cyber in my case was my mentor, David, right? His name is David Garcia. He was promoted to cybersecurity, and that's how I ended up in cybersecurity. But anyways, just wanted to share a little bit. I know you know my story, but a lot of people in the podcast, I always teaching or talking about faith, and today we're just talking about professional career and faith, which it goes hand by hand. But I want to share with the audience here how easy it is to go to WEU. Right, here's the website. If you are interested in improving yourself and learning a career, earning a degree that's going to help you accelerate, because I want to get to that fairly quickly in a minute with you, Zach. Like how quickly you double your salary. Like we don't have to tell the amount, but I know personally in our conversations before you started your degree and then after you were like halfway through it, that you were able to double what you make, and it was significant. So for the audience, this is wuu.edu. That's the website, and these are 100% online degrees, right? And the difference that this, I want to say company, but this university actually has is that you pay by the time. So let's say you pay $4,800 for the semester. The beauty of this is that you're not paying for the credit hour like any other university. And the other thing is this includes certification. So for instance, this is the degree that my friend Zackary Campbell is working, right? Zach, you going through these right now. You are almost done, so you are like
Yes.
done, right? So look at the benefits. Like this program, you don't graduate if you don't pass all the certifications. But look at this. This is the best program in United States. I don't care. You can get to the better university, most expensive university, they don't give you certifications. You just take a class, you pass the class, and they don't force you to pass the certification. At WEU is different, right? But look at all the certs. You get A plus, Data plus, Network plus. So it's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 certifications that are included. And let's talk a little bit about this, Zach, because you have the experience. I mean, I experienced this personally, but I want the audience to learn from you because you're still going through these. And by the way, I mean you already have all these certs, right? You're getting close to get your Pentest Plus, and I believe you already got your SCCP, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Pen test is my last cert
Pentas
to
is your
acquire.
last cert. Yeah, so that's very exciting. And yeah, just tell the audience, like the beauty of it. Also the savings, right, that you get. The other thing is that you get the opportunity to get two vouchers per certification. So if you fail the first time, you get a free second attempt for the exam. So let's talk a little bit about that, Zach, from your perspective.
Yeah, so for WGU, for the certifications and for the courses in general, the thing that stood out to me was when I interacted with my assigned professor for the course. So, for example, the A plus course, I was under the impression I'm going to get a professor who has not been in the field for 10 plus years and is teaching from, a 10 plus year old book. I That was wrong. That was not even close to what it was. Um, every professor I've had either works full time or part time in the field of study. So, whenever I was doing my SSCP and the CISA before that, my professor did either you know, worked in a SOC or did some form of relevancy to that field. So, whenever I engaged with my professors, they would be able to relate resources on top of the provided material. So the really neat thing was for the CompTIA courses, WGU provides CertMaster. That is the official curriculum that CompTIA wrote based on its testing, and they also include practice exams and practice quizzes, and they are written very similar to make you think how CompTIA will write, because obviously everybody writes their own test a little differently.
Hmm.
Same thing with the SSCP and ISC2. There was material provided. For the ITIL exam, the material was provided there. For the testing itself, I have a testing center that's about 30 minutes south of me that I could go to if I wanted to. The problem that I have is when I was going through this, I would be studying at weird hours. So either late at night or early in the morning. You know, my first year after I met Fernando, there were some mornings I would get up at 1:30. You know what? I think I'm going to take this cert test. Hey, there's a time available at 2 in the morning. I'm scheduling it. I'm taking it. I'm wrapping this test up by 6 in the morning. And it tells you right then and there, you pass or you don't pass. It's a pass or fail. And so, I remember I was really leery about the Project Plus because I did not have a whole lot of project good project management exposure prior to going into that cert. And I remember I talked to you, Fernando, for several months about that. Just
Yeah.
very much, hey, I don't think I'm going to pass this. And I it was a work night too. That's what makes it even funnier. It was like a Wednesday or a Thursday night, and it's about 11:30 at night, and I go, you know what? I'm just going to schedule it and take it. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to get up at about 3 in the morning. And then I'm going to, because I had as time scheduled, hey, if 3:30 is still there, I'm just going to go. I did. I was wrapping up at 7 in the morning and I had passed it. So I felt really good about that. And so that's the beauty of, WGU is uh, I will say one thing: the ISC2 certs, you do actually have to go to a testing center, so just be leery of that, especially if you live in certain areas away from major metropolitan areas. You have to account for that, because I was afraid that the closest testing center would be about an hour and a half to my north of me, uh, and no, it was not. There was three in my city, so I was very happy about that.
Would you consider that was like a challenge? Because it's one of my questions that I have for you. But uh, what if I were to ask you, like, what was the biggest challenge while completing your degree? Because you're still going through it. Would that be one of those things when you have to go to? Because I want to be specific, right, and clear with
Yeah,
the audience here that a WEU program is not a copy and paste degree.
yeah,
Basically,
no,
when you
it
take, yeah, if you want to elaborate, because when you take the exam, you are proctor or you have to go to a testing center, which adds but credibility to your degree and your certification as well.
Yeah, so whenever you're taking a WGU exam, the material that is provided to study for it is relevant to the test. So if you study the material and it has a what's called a pre-assessment or a PA, as some of the professors like to call it, and some of the program mentors, chances are you're going to pass the objective assessment, which is called the OA, and that is their exam to end the course. So I have, whenever you're actually going into the exam, so let's say this is setting up for an exam, I would not be able to wear these headphones. I have a band here. I would have to take this off. You have to set a webcam up. You have to go through a proctor who checks you in, checks your ID. They want to see a 360 degree of your room. If you have any open doors, you have to close them. If you have a window, the blinds have to be shut.
Yeah,
Um, the one thing that stood out to me, and this was just more of where I lived at the time, because the way that the layout of the living room was where I did the testing, I had two doors. I had the entry door, and then I had a door that led into the hallway. Um, I had to have both of those doors in frame at all times on the test before for them to even open the test. If I could not do that, I would have to go find somewhere else to test, or I would have to go to a testing center. And so going somewhere else to test could be a challenge because you know at the time it was not a always a great location because you could be going to a library. Well, you could have some sort of weird issue with the library's Wi-Fi. I experienced that a few times on a couple of the tests. Um, but the test itself, very straightforward. Um, you had 2 hours for most tests, and at the end of it you knew within 5 minutes if you passed or not. I would know because as soon as I finished up a test, the first thing I would go do is get up, go stretch my legs, and go into the other room and grab and power back on my phone. And within a couple of minutes I would get a text message saying congratulations, you passed, and it
that's
would have the
awesome.
course name, and so you knew instantly.
Was there ever a moment when you thought about quitting the program?
Yeah, so there actually has been a moment when I did think about quitting the program. And the moment that I thought about quitting the program was when I was taking a course about SQL and databases. And what drove me down that path was originally I thought I can pass a SQL database course in a month. I can do it in under less than a month even. Like it's not going to be hard. Not hard, because I've done SQL. I've had exposure to it. That my one of my employers, said, "Hey, guess what? Our database crashed, and we need you to fix it." so it's on you. And then, oh, we need you to maintain it. So there's that. So I've had exposure to SQL, and so long story short, I wasn't able to. Okay, I'll come back to on the next semester. That course, and I don't really want to name it here, but that course was the weirdest layout for a test I had ever seen because I took it twice and could not pass twice, but I would get so close. And a lot of it, I think, came back to I've had exposure to SQL. The way the test is written, the way I understand it, are not matching up. And I spent, a term trying to pass this class. That was the one class I could not pass, no matter how hard I tried. I even had to start meeting with my professor once a week, then it bumped to twice a week, and it became, you obviously understand the material, you're just not understanding the test.
Yeah.
And that was really kind of, I Fernando, you were still there. I told you exactly what I
I
thought.
remember the conversations, and I remember also what I told you. But it was it's just it's always one or two courses they're gonna be your weakness, and you gotta take it as one step at a time, right? Take a deep breath. Don't stress
Mhm.
about it, and it's like what am I missing from the content? What am I not understanding 100%? And if you understand it, then it just clicks, right? And like I shared with you many times, when I was working on my master's program, I was getting ready for my CEH, or Certified Ethical Hacker certification, and I failed two times, and I have to retake it the third time. And by the second time, I was frustrated, but then the third time, it kind of like really like pushed me to get the best version of myself, right? To be able to pass. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna download Kali Linux. I'm gonna play with the commands. I'm gonna build my vulnerable server and download different OSs, and I'm gonna start trying to hack into things, break the systems. And I think I over prepared, because when I went to take the exam the third time, I completed it in 1 hour, man. Like I was on like in 15 minutes. I already knew like the in and out of the questions, but I think I over prepared. And that's kind of like what I shared with you, right? When I was there, that you just got to go and play with the material, and especially with SQL. SQL is a little different, especially if you haven't played with databases. So you got to be aware of how and to your point, right? The questions, I believe now the program has been revamped for that specific class, and I believe you're gonna do great on that class. So, how do you stay motivated?
Yeah, so what motivates me to continue the push here is WGU changed my life. And what I mean by that is it opened doorways that before were never open to me. So even before I had applied at WGU, I was looking at other roles. I actually had tried to apply for a cybersecurity SOC analyst tier one role, and I got rejected. They flat out told me, "You don't have a bachelor's degree. You're not getting the job. We don't care that you have the experience." And that was the same thing over and over was, I don't have a degree, I don't have anything that makes me stand out. Yeah, I may have the certs, I may have the experience, but you don't have something that makes you stand out. And so that helped to push the motivation. But the biggest driving factor was how it has opened doorways and allowed me to give back, especially to my church, because I wasn't hurting. I just could not provide much assistance to my church. So one of the assistance things that I love to do was our church had a summer camp. Most churches have a summer camp. One of the things that our church does is we would take donations for, the families who are not as well off, like they cannot afford to send their kids off to summer camp. And that's one of the things that helped push me was because WGU opened doorways. It allowed me to be able to help fund summer camp for some of the families who their kid would never have gone. They just could not afford it. And so that's been a big motivator, and how it has also improved, just my overall well-being. Like I don't feel like I am, content. I feel like every day is a new challenge.
But something that I admire, because you started younger than me, right? So you are gonna probably be, when you are my age, you're gonna be like past me by far, right? But something that I admire is that you were a sysadmin at a high school, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah,
And
so I
and
was
then
a sysadmin for a school district, and I was one of three sysadmins. When I started, there was two of us, and then we had hired a third for the sole purpose of we needed somebody to assist with building a disaster recovery backup center that could help run it. And so, uh, you know, it opened a lot of unique challenges because the one thing about being in like a school district in that environment is just because you're a sysadmin doesn't mean you're going to do sysadmin work. There were days that, hey, guess what? I'm going out and I'm doing, service desk tickets. Why? Because the service desk is inundated and they need help. Uh,
always,
so
it is
you,
always neat. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so you would wear multiple hats. I mean, I remember one of the times right before I met you, our team fell apart, not because of people leaving, but everybody started getting really sick. uh, there's this real nasty stomach bug that was running rampant across our district. Like sites started closing because they had 70% of their students and staff that would call out because they were sick. I was one of two people left in my entire department of six, and we had to hold it down. And so it opened my eyes to, this is an opportunity.
I mean, you are somebody that is a go getter, right? You don't give up easily, and I seen
No.
it. I seen it myself in the past 2.5 or 3 years, and like WU, you mentioned the WU changed your life, so it did the same thing for me. My life changed dramatically, salary wise, opportunities,
Mhm.
doors open up, and you were one of the students that I will talk about the to other students about in a good way, right? Saying that you were somebody that came into WU, started a journey into cybersecurity, and you were able, like, halfway to the degree plan, because you were like halfway through it, to get a nice job and basically double your salary. And you don't see that often. Like, you don't see that often. And you're not the only one. There are other few students that were able to do the same, just like you. But you have to have that personality, you have to have that character, and also understand, right, where you wanna go when you grow up, or what you wanna be when you grow up. So the question that I have for you, so to help people, what advice would you give someone who is considering going back to school and break into cybersecurity, just the way that you did?
Yeah, so the best advice that I can provide for anybody who is in that position of, I enjoy what I do, but I want something more, or I want a new challenge, new horizons, and I would love to get into cybersecurity. It looks fascinating. You've talked to the guys in the cybersecurity arm of your company, or you've talked to people who work in cybersecurity at conferences. The best advice that I can say is, do not stop learning. Uh, so one of the things is, jump onto Udemy. Jason Dion teaches a lot of cybersecurity courses. Learn everything you can. Yes, you might not have, practical experience, but you have theoretical knowledge that you can then apply. Because when I took the role that I took, I was very upfront. I said, have never worked in a actual dedicated cybersecurity role. I have the theoretical knowledge. Here's what I know. They wanted me to take an exam to prove that, and I at least had a theoretical knowledge of it. And they were satisfied with that. They were satisfied that I am working towards a degree in cybersecurity, which is what they wanted. Um, so I would say too, the other thing is networking. I met the people who I work for today at a conference by chance. It was not a, oh, hey, it was, hey, I'll go talk to you. Nobody else is talking to you. I'm going to walk up and talk to you. And so that's how we got to talking, because they started explaining that, we've had an MSP, we're wanting to, bring cybersecurity in house and do it ourselves. We just don't have anybody, and we're looking for dedicated people to go be a go getter and go get it. And that's how the journey started. Was just through the networking and the connections of people and self practice. I mean, I mentioned Udemy. I had used I actually set up a Kali Linux box and was just practicing and watching YouTube courses about it.
Will you say so? Basically, what you're saying is you need to believe in yourself, right? And also, it's who you know, I guess, sometimes, right? They will
It
open a
can be,
door.
yeah, it can be. I Like I said, I had just met them. I It was just a chance of the draw of how it all played out, but be how I presented myself definitely had a big part in it, because I was not afraid to say I don't know that, I will learn it. And I showed that I would learn it, because the next time I talked to them, what I had not known, they asked me about, and I was able to answer it then and there as well.
Yeah,
So um,
that's great. That's great. So look, so looking back, oh my voice. So looking back, what would you tell you younger self? Like if you were able to go back, what would you tell your younger self?
so if I could go back and tell my younger self, the one thing I would definitely tell my younger self is, yes, you did not feel that college was for you. That's why you did not go for the longest time. I would have definitely gone a different career route had I, knew that this was the pathway I was going to go, or I would have started much sooner, but then I probably would not have completed it successfully, because I was still in that mindset of I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this again. Uh, so if I knew then what I know now, I would have changed my whole trajectory and gone much sooner to WGU, but I didn't. I did not find out about WGU until I was much older, in my 20s.
Yeah, same here. And that's I wish I would have known sooner as well. And well, we're gonna start going now through the faith and professional life route, and then we can come back to the WU maybe if needed. But this is really the heart of the today's episode, right? The faith and the professional life. One thing that I have admired is watching you continue your pursuit of Christ while you're pursuing excellence professionally. And many people believe, Zach, that they have to separate faith from work, right? So, and I don't believe that's true, because to be honest, any time that I have put Christ first, either I get promoted or I find grace in the workplace, right? It's like an opportunity that God opens the door. So a question that I have for you today is, how has your relationship with God influenced your career?
Yeah, so the relationship that I have with God has been a massive influence inside of my career, both before I took this role and started down this journey, and in past careers that I've had. So the biggest influence that I can say is what you had just said, Fernando. Every time decided, you know what, I'm giving it to God, what's meant to be is going to happen. It has opened up doorways that I in past that I never thought were going to open, and I was both humbled but also in awe, because here I am, a young man in his early 20s, going through careers that I never thought I would see. Uh, so I'm going to go back to when I worked at a former school district of mine. Uh, you know, I started as a help desk technician. I was bottom of the totem pole, and within 3.5, 2.5, 3.5 years, here I am moving from help desk to a network admin, a system admin, and just moving on up. I, I to this day, it's hard to describe it because of how humbled I feel over it, but I believe in God's plan, and that He has a plan for everybody if you turn it over to Him. And the best way that comes to mind to convey that is going to be in God rewards those who remain faithful.
Mm,
So, for example, you know, before this role, I was I was in emergency services, and so I was okay at it. I wasn't the greatest, but I wasn't the worst. And when I was doing that, the one thing that really stuck out to me was here I am responding on, people's worst day ever. There's they called, they need help, and how quickly I could calm a situation down. So somebody who's super, hysterical, just upset, having the worst day, and bring them in level of peace and calmness because you're not panicking. You're showing, hey, we're here to help you. Uh, I'm kind of touching on the story of how the prophets Elijah and Elijah walked before the time of Jesus, and how when they performed miracles, people would be in awe of that. I'm not at all comparing myself to any of them. Those were great men. I am just a man myself. Nothing like what they had done, but that sense of ease that they could bring to the table, that sense of calmness and being able to calm any raging storm. And so I know, it's a question about faith in the job and the workforce, but I mean, it has brought a sense of ease that before I never had. I was always super anxious. I mean, my heart would race in situations like talking to you, Fernando. Had I been younger at that time, I would have been, my heart would be racing. I would not feel comfortable. I'd be super nervous. I'd be stuttering over myself.
yeah, and I can imagine, because you brought up a good point, right, to the conversation right now. That sometimes it's not just you can bring people to a place where you haven't been before, right? And as a worshiper myself, right, like if I don't worship God in the private, in the privacy of my home, and experience His presence in my house, how can I lead people in worship in a public setting, such as at a church, right? And if I never been before the presence of the Lord, how can I bring somebody in? It's the same thing with faith. If you don't have faith in God, you cannot bring that to the workplace. You cannot talk about God because you don't know Him, right? But when you know the Word of God, when you know His promises, when you know that He's faithful, when you know that He's going to open doors, right? Because it's the next question that I have for you. Have there been moments where you clearly saw God opening the doors? I can say for myself, yes, and for you, probably the answer is the same, right? You experience the same.
Yes. So I'm going to kind of rewind it back to, you know, I am working in a former school district as, in the IT department. And here I've been in this role for 5.5 going on, 6 years. I haven't really moved up beyond what I did at the, 2.5 to 3.5 year mark. Like there's not been any sort of movement upwards. There's not really been anything. And it's just kind of, it's a routine. It's steady. It's consistent. You know what you're walking into. You know what you're not. Um, and so the other way, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think how to word this.
Take your time. I can repeat the question too,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like,
I'm thinking on your question. The best way that so here's, let me reword this then. So the way that I've seen God open up these doorways is when I worked at my former district, I lived comfortably. Don't get me wrong, very comfortably. I appreciated everything I had. I was grateful for it. But it opened up an ability for me to, the biggest thing was I started going through some issues with eating certain foods, mainly gluten. And the problem that I had was my monthly grocery bill could only allocate for the cheaper versions of food.
mhm.
And it started to impact me. Well, long story short, whenever you start getting ill, your mind starts wandering. And so my mind started wandering to interesting places that I started doubting and started questioning. And so, um, when the doorway for being able to give back opened, that was really the biggest factor. Was I wanted to give back to my church. I don't come off as the type of person that is, givey. I just don't. Like, that's just what people tell me. You do not seem like that type of person. Um, and so that, you know, is was odd, but okay. And so,
No, but you like to help people. Basically, you have a good
yeah,
heart.
I like to
Yeah.
give back to those who don't, who are not able to. And the one thing that I always reiterate is, when you can, give back to others who are in your situation, because you never know what sort of day people are having. I mean, I I was the guy that I could be at Walmart and I would have some random, got dad with his kid who says, "Hey, I'm out of money. Can you spot me, $20 for groceries for the week?" Sure. Uh, or, "Hey, I don't know how to change a tire." Well, I'll show you how to change a tire, and be able to just give back in that way and give back to the community as well.
Yes, and that's the right heart, right? Because we are God's hands and voice here right now, right? Jesus Christ already came, died for us, and went back to the Father, and now we are His voice, right? And the only thing that people are going to know about God is the way we behave, the way we act, the way we
Mhm.
represent Him, right? And sometimes it takes character, right? And takes the right dimension. I wouldn't say dimension, but I would say the right state of mind spiritually and mentally to be able to be fruitful and helpful at especially I got to tell you, like working on a stressful environment, and for everybody listening today, tonight, whatever time you listen to this podcast, I mean, working in cybersecurity and IT, those are stressful jobs because you're going to be dealing with demands. You're going to be working with, uh, um, you know, uh, incidents, situations, people's mentalities. Like it's a lot of things that take place. A lot of politics as well. Like you have to be well grounded to not lose it, right? Because otherwise you can lose it and then you can look really bad. But I think that when you have God by your side, you learn to control yourself. And I got to tell you, like I'm working on that. And I believe that probably you do the same thing. Like
Oh, yeah.
sometimes I'm just like these people, or what are we doing, or this is crazy, right? But I got to tell you and everybody here listening to this podcast today that when you put God first and when you understand that God is opening the doors, maybe you won't be ready. Like when I took my first IT job, I didn't know anything about IT, right? I was a recent graduate from at that time Hill College, and I took the opportunity to become a service desk person. I didn't know much, but I believe in myself, right? And I know that God asked me to change careers, right? And I did, and I'm glad that I did because now 17 years later, like I can see the fruits, right? You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that God is going to open the doors, and you can't be a coward, right? God has given you a good mind, a good set of mind. He has given you skills, His presence, His Spirit, and basically you gotta, like, all the tools are there for us to utilize, right? We have all the tools, and I want to go to encourage everybody today, right now, but that people that are watching tonight, who might feel discouraged, like, hey, the economy is bad, there are no jobs. Like, I got to tell you, cyber is booming, IT is booming. There are a lot of opportunities in the tech sector if you know how to make it through those situations, to look for a job. You got to find something that you like as well. Don't do it for the money. Remember, I told you that, Zach, like, never do it for the
Mhm.
money. Do it because it's something that you like to do. It just happened that I love the Lord. I'm a worship leader. I'm a family. I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I'm a cybersecurity professional, and that's what I do for a living. Obviously, my relationship with the Lord is first all the time. Right? That's not negotiable for me. I need to have my time with the Lord, but I know that if I prepare myself, if I go, and that's what I did, right? I went back to school. You're going through your bachelor's right now. You got almost the 11 certifications there, and more to come. You're not even 30. You're in your 20s, early 20s. So the future, my friend, is bright for you. And I want to encourage everybody. Maybe they're trying to finish, high school or just any sort of schooling right now. Maybe they have been praying for opportunities to open up. So don't think that you're gonna be stuck in your current situation. And that's part of this podcast Voz de Vida. We believe that the Lord has better things for us than what we'd even imagine. Because I got to tell you, me being an immigrant from Mexico, now here in the United States, and having the opportunity to become a program mentor for a Western Governors University for I did that for 3 years plus, and then being in IT and cybersecurity, have the different titles and different opportunities. Only God can do that, right? Not having the English language, right? Not understanding the culture. So I want to encourage everybody that if God did it with me, right? And I gotta say, I gotta be transparent and honest, right? It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt your time. It's gonna hurt your comfort zone. You're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone. You're gonna have to believe in yourself, right? That you can do it, right? Like I always say, I'm gonna tell the story now, like Rocky, right? The Rocky Four, he's fighting Ivan Dragon, and they didn't like him, but the consistency, being disciplined, staying firm, right? He started, turning people around, and they started screaming Rocky, Rocky, and we all know the story, right? He defeated Ivan Dragon because he was consistent. So if you want to conquer your giants, if you want to conquer a career, if you want to change your status quo, you need to believe in yourself and believe that God is with you and for you and not against you, right? And that He's gonna uh, open that opportunity. So I want to just encourage everybody today, because God did it with me, and now I have one student from WEU that he's almost done, and he was able to start the program, go to the process, and he doubled his salary. I mean, like, he basically, you live in a dream, man, because a lot of people there, they haven't getting opportunities, and you did so quickly. And for what I know, you already have opportunities probably in the future coming your way once you complete your bachelor's degree. So uh, Zach, what encouragement would you give someone waiting for God to open a door?
So the encouragement that I would have, and this is the encouragement that I wish I had known when I was younger. It took me many years to learn this, and talking to a trusted pastor at my church. The one thing that I never did, and I wish I would have known it when I was younger, um, put it into God's hands. If you're nervous, pray about it. If you're anxious, pray about it. If you're scared, pray about it. If you're upset, pray about it. And God will guide you towards the pathway to alleviate your fears, your concerns, your anxiety, your sadness, and bring you joy.
Amen. And that's what it takes, right? And so how has God surprised you in your own journey? Hi-
Yeah. So like you said, I was in my late 20s when I met you, Fernando. I am actually 31 now this year, so I am an older man than I was when I
Well,
met you.
you're younger than me, so you're still a kid.
But the biggest thing that has surprised me is, as I have gotten older, I feel like I am understanding more of what the scripture trying to tell me. So when I was in my early 20s, yeah, I would read the Bible. I would, read what we're talking about. Um, I didn't fully understand it. I would never, and I did not fully comprehend it. But I think that just came from being young and not having the some of the lived wisdom that I've had now, especially some of the exposure from, uh, especially emergency services. But uh, I actually feel like when I read scripture, I feel at peace now, and a lot of that has to do with, I'm talking to you today. I never would have done this when I first met you. Like, if you asked me to, hey, join a podcast and have people from all over listen in and watch it later, I would have gone, no, Fernando, I'm not doing that.
Well, I think they all of us go through that because when God asked me to do this, I was like, Lord, like I don't know if I am able to do it. Like God just asked me, like, start doing it. As you do it, I'm gonna show you the way. I'm gonna give you grace, and I'm gonna give you the skills that you need, and you're gonna actually develop those skills. So for me, this is a dream come true, right? Like I said it before, like, hey, I'm an immigrant. Like I didn't know any English, and now I'm here with a podcast talking about faith and professional work and motivating people to go back to school and still believe in God and develop their skills, and learn. I mean, this is such a great time and season for us, Zach, to grow, to learn. Jesus is about to come back, but we need to plan like we're going to stay here for 100 years and
Mhm.
be ready like we're going to die tomorrow, or he's coming. Actually, better, he's coming tomorrow, so I have to be ready for his return, right? But I need to plan, and I think that the problem with this generation sometimes in some people is the lack of planning, right? like
Yes.
well, my parents did it this way, I can do the same thing, and or I'm not able to do that. But I think that if we plan accordingly, I know we're talking faith and professional life, but let's talk about investment. Let's talk about putting your money to work for you instead of you working for money, right? So it's a lot of things, and that's another podcast that we can have, talk about investments. But definitely, let's start like going down now, like putting the plane down. Was my pastor will say, like, we're landing the plane. um Fun questions: coffee or tea?
Funny enough, I actually like coffee now. After meeting you, before it would have been tea, but I'm a coffee man now.
Awesome. Yeah, and I probably am responsible for that. All right, the next one is early bird or night owl?
Yeah, so this one I had to really think on this one because I was early, but then I started at WGU and I became a night owl. And I find that my most productive time is anywhere from 9 p.m. to midnight now.
Wow. So yeah, night owl definitely. Favorite book besides the Bible?
Yeah, so there's a book by a gentleman called John Maxwell. It is called The 360-Degree Leader. It's about developing your influence from anywhere in the organization. So, what John Maxwell is trying to teach is how to engage with people and how to do it in a professional manner and to build your character inside of an organization. It's a book that is geared towards you want to become a manager at some point in the future. Here is the pillars that you need to really start honing in on to be able to have conversations with C-level executives, how to talk professionally, how to talk to them, how to convey. It's a really great book. Highly recommend it.
Awesome. Favorite cybersecurity tool?
Yeah, so this one also required me to give a lot of thought to because the w- the one that is probably my favorite is Wireshark at this point, and Wireshark is going to be my favorite because of the uniqueness of the environment I work in, because we do allow a BYOD policy. And so there are BYOD devices that do cause some problems every now and then. I don't know they're a BYOD until I sniff them out on the network because we do not always get data to identify. You might have a device that says Windows laptop,
Yeah,
random number.
yeah, that's good. Wireshark. So favorite Bible verse?
So, the favorite Bible verse that I have when I am feeling, just not down, John 14:27. And John 14:27 is, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." When I have to speak at a conference, which is in front of our executive team, that is a verse that I repeat to myself so many times in my head because I don't enjoy speaking like that. Do not It's not one of my favorites. I will do it, but as soon as I start quoting that verse, I start feeling at ease and I can breeze through it.
Yeah. All right. Favorite worship song?
So, m- my favorite, it's going to be Rattle by Elevation Worship.
Yeah. Rattle's a great song. Yeah. I
I love
like it.
that song.
Yeah.
It resonates with me. It was one of the songs I would listen to anytime I felt down or, hey, I'm getting ready to take a WGU test and I feel super stressed out. I would play that song like leading up to, all right, I got to stop it. I got to get ready. I got to check in for the test.
That is awesome, man. One word that describes your career journey.
I'm going to say it's an evolution.
Yeah. Same here. One word that describes God for you.
Incomprehensible.
Amen. Uh, he's all and everything, right? All in one. So, Zach, thank you so much for being here today. And before we finish, I would like to leave everyone with this thought, right? Like everybody that's listening to us now or in the future, right? Many people spend their lives asking God to open doors. Like everybody wants that big opportunity, that big door. But sometimes we forget that before God opens the door, He's going to prepare the person who will walk through it. And I want to let you with this. Are you ready to walk through that door? Are you ready? If you're listening from South America, United States, Europe, wherever you're hearing us from or listening or connecting from, are you prepared to be the person that is going to walk through that door and be successful? Because I want to just give you concepts here that are important. Faith is important. Education matters. Hard work matters. Integrity matters. But above all, faith matters, right? Because when God opens a door, nobody can shut it down. So my prayer for you today, that you connected, you spend time with me and Zach today, is that God is going to open a door for you, and you have to be ready, but you have to be prepared. One of the things that I love about David is that he was prepared. He was ready to be in front of people. When he was asked to go in front of the king, because the king was being tormented by these demons, right? Number one, David knew how to play the harp. He knew, like, because Saul asked for somebody that knew how to play. But not only was important to know how to play, it was important to be anointed by the Lord. Because when David played, the Holy Spirit came and brought freedom to Saul, and he was delivered from those demons, right? There was that torment that he was experiencing, or that bad season that he was going through. But that's the point here today at the end of the conversation is, are you ready? Are you skillful? Are you sharpening your blade to be able to go to the next level, right? Because God is going to open a door that nobody can close, but He's going to close doors that nobody can open as well. So I hope today's conversation has encouraged you, everybody, to continue trusting God, to continue preparing yourself, and to remember that your profession is not separate from your faith. It is one of the greatest mission fields God has entrusted to you to do His will. And I want to kind of like close with this scripture, Proverbs 16, verse 3. Commit thy works into the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Or Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not into thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he should direct thy paths. That's amazing. So thank you, Zackary, for joining us today. Has been a privilege to have you in Voz de Vida. Everybody that connected today, has been a pleasure to have you here. I know today we did all the podcasts in English. I'm going to start doing more of these English podcasts. It's something that the Lord is asking me to do, and is pushing me hard to do it, and I'm going to obey. So, Zach, you are the first person invited to do these. And do you have any last words for our audience today?
Thank you for the opportunity to share my story, and thank you for the opportunity to share what drove me and my story of faith.
Yeah, no, and thank you for taking the challenge. I know it's not easy to be in front of a camera, have the mic, and then people connecting and seeing the videos. This is going to be there for a long time, right? And I hope that this is a blessing for people that are looking for a new opportunity, ways to better themselves. We mentioned WU. You can go to wu.edu. You mentioned different sites that people can go and prepare, such as Pluralsight, Udemy. There is LinkedIn Learning. A lot of ways to learn to improve, especially if you want to break into IT. There are so many opportunities right now, and the money is great. We're talking like something that I didn't do is put the salary ranges for different titles or roles. But if you go and you just Google cybersecurity professionals, system administrators, hackers, or things of that nature, you're going to find out that the salaries are in the six-figure ranges, and it's very profitable because you can learn how to do a role, a job, and then you can start your own company in the future, right? If you or you can become a VP, you can become a CISO, you can become a director of technology for a company, right? Whatever your calling is, right? And to your point, Zach, this is going to give us the ability to expand the kingdom, to be able to support missions, to be able to also have a good life, right? Who doesn't want to have a good life, right? I want to have a good life. I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to help support my church. So all those things are a blessing when you put everything together, because you planning, you putting the seed, and you're gonna see that tree grow in the kingdom of God as well. So thank you everybody for connecting today. Has been a blessing having everybody be part of this broadcast or podcast today. And Zach, once again, thank you so much for your time today. So everybody, God bless you, and we will see you again soon on the next podcast. Okay, blessings.
Thank you all. Have a great
Let's give it a minute, Zach, to finalize the whole ending.
no worries.